so this week's video, I'm just gonna use Mr. Dookie as an example, just because I don't have my assistant here to hold one of the dogs. So now that I've been working with them for a little bit, the big thing that I see with both of them is that they're kind of just rude and pushy. And I don't mean that in a bad way, they've just found success in doing so. So I want to make it a point to advocate for our space to help with the jumping, and this will also help move them away from resources, aka the poop that they were eating at home and things like that. Any type of stealing, whatever they're doing at home. So typically the time that we tell dogs to leave us alone is the times where it's the most annoying. So like jumping up or running straight into us, like body checking us and things like that. I like to establish space advocacy on all fundamental levels. So right now we're teaching an out, and I just want to create a nice muscle memory to the action. I want the dogs to move away from spatial pressure in all situations, not just the ones where they're actually like jumping up and making contact. So anytime where if I'm walking and the dog is right there, I'm going to make them move out of my space. Nothing physical, we're not kicking or anything like that. I just want them to be responsive to those things, getting used to moving out of your way instead of us moving out of their way. So a lot of times when dogs go to jump up, our natural reaction is to kind of like try to avoid it. I want to move into their space and make them move out of ours. So I want them to understand that you cannot just crowd my space whenever you want to. So they have to understand it in a situation where they're not really that committed to having the space. So they understand the picture that you're looking for. So what I've been doing is just taking a treat, I'll say the word out, and then toss it away. So it's creating that muscle memory of when they hear out, they kind of just try to move away. Now we're to the point where when I step in, out, yes, they already have the muscle memory down. I can make it more of a behavior, so I'll say yes when he does it. So out, yes, boy. I recommend really working on that at home. You can go backwards a little bit, have a treat. You'll say out, step in, throw the food away, create that muscle memory. And then we can start doing it away from objects. So I usually start with something pretty low value that they don't really care about, but I just put something random on the ground that they're not gonna want, but they're like showing it just because why is it on the ground? Why is this not this thing on your seat? So I have like a bottle of orange soda. He might be like, hey, why is it on the ground? Out, yes. So he's not needing it, not wanting it too much. He knows this picture. Out, yes. Oh, so that'll help with moving him away from things. But yeah, again, I want to paint the picture for him or both of them actually, moving out of our space. So when we're walking, instead of, like if we need to turn left, instead of kind of like moving away from them, I want it to be us walking in, pressuring them. There we go. Just walk into them. There you go. But no emotion towards it. We're not going to be mean. We're not fussing at them. We're not getting upset. It's just move out of my space. Good. Okay. Sorry, I have my hair in my eye. Teaching him to respect our space a little bit. So walking leash walking, I should say. That example was for turning left. I want him to move out of my space. If we're sitting down and they start coming into our space, let's say you have a cup of coffee or you're playing on your phone, whatever, make it a point to every once in a while say out. If they don't respond to that, stand up and use your spatial pressure to enforce that. Another really big thing that I'm, especially with this guy, focusing on is waiting to go in and out of doorways. He has a little bit of separation anxiety from his sister, so if I take her out and leave him in, he has a little bit of a meltdown with vocalizations and things like that. If it's the other way around, I take him out and leave her, she might be stressed about it, but she doesn't show it. So because he knows that's a possibility that he's going to get left behind, if I go to take her out, he starts to crowd the doorway and try to squeeze past me. So I'm using that out to create space, but I'm also situations outside of that and making him wait at thresholds. So when we go in and out of doorways, I guess I can't really show you the video. If I go in and out of doorways, instead of letting him barge through ahead, if he crowds the door, I move into a space, tell him out, and then I'm teaching him right now the word wait. So it's not a 100% yet, but I'm saying the word wait. I go to open the door. If he tries to move forward again, I shut the door. I want it to be something where I say wait, I open the door, and I take a step through, okay, and invite him through. So I'm teaching him a little bit of impulse control and not rushing through things. I want him to have better manners. In order for him to do that, he has to understand what the expectation is and that it's going to be a consistent expectation. So they're not bad dogs by any means. They're just big old silly puppies that have gotten away with a lot, and I think a lot of that is because there's 2 of them. So individually, they're a lot more biddable because they can process the things that are being asked of them, versus when they're together, when they're feeding off of each other's energy, it just becomes a little bit of a chaotic situation. So it is easy to, as a handler, to shut down when you've got 2 big oofs running around slamming into each other and being silly. So right now, again, I'm doing everything very individual until they have a really solid understanding of what I'm asking before I start working with them together. So probably next week, I'll bring them over, where I'll do like a couple sessions individual and then a couple sessions together, and see where we go from there. Usually the last week it is mostly all together. So let me know if you get this video. I'm hoping that you got the last one. I didn't hear anything back. It's totally cool if you don't want to respond. That's not a big deal. I just have a problem with my outgoing email. So if you could just send like a thumbs up that you got it, that would be great, just so I don't, just so I know that you actually got it. So, all right, if you have any questions, just let me know. All right.